There was no action done in closed session. A recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ballot, would you lead?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. I am here. Mr. Bender is here. Dwayne Moore is here. Mr. Vincelette is here. Ms. Hepburn is here. And I would say Finch. We got a board member. Cool. Awesome. She is here. Okay, you gotta speak up when we vote on stuff. Any motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Vincelette. Seconded.
Second by Moore.
By Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
5 ayes. Pressing card recognition. Ms. Gaines.
Thank you, President Gutierrez. I cannot stress how important our crossing guards are to the success of our district and to the safety of all of our students who walk to school every single day. And I thought it would be appropriate that we say thank you to them with a certificate by the board members. So board, if you would like to go down there, if all of you would like to go down, or some of you, Mario, to go down, and I will call the names of our crossing guards. And again, I want to say, we don't say it enough. I feel so bad that, you know, this is my 3rd year, and this is, of course, last year we really weren't walking to school, but that's still no excuse. We need to thank you and appreciate you for everything you do for our district. And so forgive me, and today's, hopefully we'll do it more often. So when I call your name, and hopefully I won't mess your name up too bad, Deborah Slaughter.
Deborah Slaughter.
Okay. Sadiah Brown. Beatrice Zicafus. Francis Dix. Cynthia Willerford.
She's not here either.
Guillermina Ponce.
See her either.
Rob
Yeah, Mia.
Ponce. Robert Pistone.
He's here.
Joseph Muzzy.
You take it to him.
I will. I'll take all of them.
That's
Okay.
his mom.
Oh.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
I'm not his voice.
No, you're his mom.
Oh, okay.
That's what I. Wait, what were you listening to?
Misty Lathrop. And Rosie Muzzy.
This one's yours. I'll get all the others too.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You're all welcome to stay, or if you want to leave, you can leave now, but we'd love to have you stay for the meeting.
if they do leave, I want to say thank you so much for all your hard work and keeping the children safe. I mean, you don't realize, especially now since they got that Starbucks across the street in the traffic. Oh, be safe out there. Whoever has that crossing, be safe.
Thank you.
Review of approval of resolution 21-2201, authorizing the assured issuance and sales of its general obligation bonds, refinancing bonds 2021 series in a region principal aggregate principal amount not to exceed 1.045, that's 1,045,000. And its general obligation refinancing bond 2021 Series B in a aggregate principal amount not to exceed 9.61 million. And approving certain other materials related to said bond. CFW, please. Kush, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kush Kiara with CFW. Very pleased to be here tonight to give you an update. I've been in front of the board a few times before discussing the opportunity to refinance some bonds, which is very similar to a homeowner refinancing their mortgage. It's to lower payments. And we have an opportunity now, given that we're near historic low interest rates in the market, for the district to be able to refinance some bonds that had previously sold, which in turn would save the taxpayers about over $700,000 based on today's market interest rates. So the process of completing the refinancing broadly consists of three components. There's the rating, which is being completed, and now we'll discuss in just a moment. Number two is document adoption, which are the documents for your consideration tonight. If the documents are in fact adopted, we'll go to the third stage, which is pricing the bonds, or it's another way to say to sell the bonds and lock in the interest rates and lock in the savings at that point. So if I may, Mr. Gutierrez, I'd like to just go through those three components, starting with the rating, which has already been completed. I'm very pleased to say that the rating agencies, your staff, Superintendent Gaines and Mr. Irving, interviewed with rating analysts in San Francisco. Actually, one was in Denver and one was in San Francisco via Zoom for about an hour and a half, where those rating analysts of S&P Global, which is one of the leading rating agencies, spent a lot of time because they were troubled by the finances of the district a couple of years ago. They were very pleased to see the work that the board and the staff has done since then, of not only repaying the county loan, but also strengthening the district's financial position. They were also impressed with how you've been looking at expenses and where expenses could be reduced to be able to reduce the expenses. The outreach that this board has been doing to be able to maintain your ADA and your enrollment, and also the resilience and the strength of your community. You are not immune from the recession, but unlike many other communities that are not as well established as yours and as desirable as yours, you did not take a hit in your assessed valuation during the Great Recession to the extent some other communities did. All of these factors were very positive, were viewed very strongly and very well by the rating analysts. And the district's current rating is an A-. They did not change the A- yet to an A, which we're expecting and we're hoping will happen very soon. But what they did say is they changed the outlook on the rating, which is a key factor. Your original rating was stable, which is they previously had indicated to the district they anticipated you would be staying at the A- level. Last week, they changed the outlook to positive, which is to say that S&P expects and anticipates to be able to increase your rating over time. It'll probably be an A, and then we should be able to take it up to an A+. That's where I anticipate the rating for your district ought to be. And where at one time in the past, pre-recession, you were at. So working with your staff, it is our intent to take you up to an A+ rating over time. The main reason that was stated why we did not get the rating change to an A and why they gave us a positive outlook and not a rating change at this time was because while our financial performance has improved substantially, those records aren't audited yet. We haven't completed the audit for the last fiscal year for 2020-21. And they want to see a year or two of audited statements. Yes, they trust you. Yes, on that basis, they're giving you the positive outlook. But as the good practice for their investors, they need to ultimately base their rating on the audits. So when your audits are published next year, we'll go back to the rating agencies. You don't have to sell bonds. You don't have to pay them to do that. We'll go back and ask for a review. Most likely, they may want to see 2 cycles of audits before they get the review. But where I want to pause and compliment all you folks on for all the work you've been doing is clearly the path of the rating, which had dropped in the past, has been changed, and the trajectory is now upwards. And if the district is able to continue with this good financial performance and the pragmatic financial management, I fully anticipate we will see an A rating and then return it to an A+ rating over time. And once again, we don't have to sell bonds. Anytime there's an event, a major event like the audits coming out on an annual basis, our rating will be reviewed. We'll continue to inform your staff, and our goal is to work with your staff to improve that. But I want to say that was not an easy task. When we went to the rating agency the last time they talked to us, we were still under county purview. We had still a loan from the county. And I do want to compliment the work the board has done and the presentation that your staff made to the analysts, which was very clear, very concise, and right to the point. And they were able to successfully mitigate the concerns the analysts had in the past. So kudos to the district on turning around the trend. I'm looking forward to the day when I'm standing in front of you and saying, all right, we got the A, now we're on the way to the A+. Not quite there yet, but clearly in the rating report, they have recognized the work you've done in writing, and they have indicated that it is their intent, that you've turned the corner, and it's their intent to take your rating up. So sorry to take up so much of your time on this one, but I'm passionate and very proud of what the district has done over here. Okay? And we will get you back to an A+ rating as if you can maintain the good financial performance that you've been doing. So that was the rating component. We now have the rating. The next step will be there's resolutions and certain other documents for the board's consideration tonight. If the board were to adopt those documents, we'll get to the third stage, which is about 2 weeks out. We will go into the market to price the bonds. And what price the bonds is essentially is the district, your staff, myself and others from my firm, and the county treasurer will get on a phone call and we'll talk about the interest rates that the underwriter, which is the broker who buys the bonds, is proposing for the district. Obviously, we want to see that interest rate as low as possible. The lower we can get that rate, the more our savings are. And so it's a negotiation that works. It's one of the incredible businesses where you'd be selling about $10 million of bonds with a phone call on the spoken word. Everything eventually will get memorialized and written, but on Superintendent Gaines' acceptance of the interest rates and corresponding saving levels, verbally, the bonds will be sold and the interest rates will be locked in. About 2 weeks after that, the transaction closes and the county will be provided a new debt service or bond repayment schedule, which will contain lower amounts than what is currently on the books. This does not put any money into the district directly. This is not new construction funds. This is just an opportunity for the board to continue to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. The board has been very supportive of you historically, and it is an opportunity to refinance some bonds to be able to lower interest rates. It's something that districts may want to consider doing. The last item I had, ladies and gentlemen, is to just try and do my best to give you a look in the crystal ball. When we started this process, we had initially said that the savings were about $500,000. When I had come to the board, I think it was about in early June or mid-June, I had estimated the savings to be about a little over $700,000. Since then, the interest rates actually went up. But then when the fear of the Delta variant kicked in, interest rates actually started going down. Bad news in the economy is good news for bonds, because when there's bad news in the economy, folks want to go and buy bonds. That's the most secure investment you can have. And so the interest rates actually dropped in August. The savings went up a little bit over $800,000. Since then, interest rates have creeped up a little bit again, and we're back to the mid $700,000 range, probably in savings today. Please understand that that's an estimate as of today. The number could be higher, we hope, or could be lower, but it will not be locked in until the time of the bond sale. If the number is higher, presumably we'll be very pleased to come back and respond with the positive results. If the numbers are lower, your superintendent and your staff will determine at what point of savings they want to take. If the savings drop from 700 down to 600, maybe it still makes sense. If the savings go all the way down to $200,000, you probably want to say, you know what, I'm going to wait for another day and see if I can do better at some time in the future. The entire team, except for the rating agency, works on a contingent basis. So the district decides not to proceed with the transaction or delay the transaction. The district doesn't owe anyone any money. If the transaction is successful, all the consultants are paid out of the fees, out of the savings. So there's never an impact to the district. And when I'm quoting savings, originally 500, up to 800, down to about 750, those are all after all costs. So I know it's a lot of information, ladies and gentlemen, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Is the A minus and the A quite a bit difference in the interest rate that we could receive?
Great question, sir. It's normally I would say that the difference is about 10 basis points to 1/10% between each rating scale. There's two factors that will probably help us squeeze that 1/10% down. One is the positive outlook. We're going to take that and we're going to have the underwriters market the heck out of that, saying that, you know what, why don't you buy these bonds now? They're going to be worth more money very shortly when you get upgraded. So why don't you give us, I know you won't give us an equivalent to an A, but surely you're going to give us more than an A minus. And the second factor that your superintendent actually asked me about is, in addition to this, we're going to go to an insurance company. And there's two insurers in the market today, BAM and ATM. These are folks with millions of dollars sitting in the cash in the bank. And we will ask them for a quote to say, go sign my loan. Those folks, since they have a bunch of cash in bank, have a rating of a AA. They're rated AA. So when we sell our bonds, we will be selling it with an A minus underlying rating, but a AA insured rating. So it gives the investors some more comfort that for any reason if the Southern Unified School District cannot pay back the bonds, the insurer serves as a backstop. It's like if someone goes signing a loan. Those two factors will change. Having said that, there still, sir, will be a difference between an A minus and an A, even with a positive outlook. Our goal is, with the positive outlook, with insurance, is to work to minimize that spread, to maximize the value for that.
Mr. Krish, if I can ask a question, just so for clarity, I think, so everyone understands, when we lower the interest rate of the bond, the taxpayers see this by their tax bills then become lower. Am I correct?
You're exactly right, Superintendent Gaines, and I missed that critical component between the interest rate and the savings. Just like a home mortgage, if you have a lower interest rate, you have a lower monthly payment. The same is true over here. We're able to lower the interest rate. It means bonds are not paid monthly, they're paid semi-annually in your tax bills that you pay in December and April. But that effect, essentially, those savings as compared to paying over market rates to investors. And there was nothing wrong when the bonds were done. When the bonds were done, that was the prevailing interest rate at that time. But Superintendent Gaines is exactly right. What does all this interest rate discussion mean? Ultimately, it means a higher rating, a lower interest rate benefits the taxpayers in the form of lower taxes going forward.
Okay. With that, I will call for a roll call vote for issuing the resale of our bonds to lower the taxes to the public. Mr. Bender?
Yes.
Ms. Hepburn?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Vincelette?
Yes.
And me, yes. So we got 5 ayes. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your fingers crossed for the next 2 weeks. The interest rates stay low, and there's no good news in the market. I know we want good news otherwise, but for the purpose of the bonds, hopefully the good news comes in 15 days from now, not 14 days from now. But thank you very much, and we'll keep you informed. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Gutierrez, may I ask at this time that we move Mr. Ortiz's presentation, 8C, to in front of reports and communications?
Sure. Okay.
Good evening, President Gutierrez, Superintendent Gaines, and board members. We have a brief presentation. We wanted to discuss the redesign of Tropical Middle School and recommend a path forward. You had a conversation with Greg Norman, I believe it was last board meeting, or 2 board meetings ago. And in the presentation, they identified that the state allocated $23.7 million for the redesign of Tropical Middle School about 10 years ago. And that money is at the state, and you're in the workload list that's identified here for $23.7 million. Let's go to the next slide, certainly. And of that, 2.2 million was already allocated to the district for the initial design process related to that school. Let's go to the next one. So that leaves $21.5 million of remaining allocation that the state has already identified that should go to Tropical Middle School for a redesign. So what was identified that redesign should have at least 10 years ago? It was 26 general education classrooms and 2 non-severe classrooms. So a total of 28 classrooms. That's about 28,000 square feet. If you take the average size of classrooms and average size of non-severe classrooms. So first question I had was, and the entire construction team, design team, was can we build 28 classrooms for $21 million in today's economy? And the answer is yes. We took Rosemont Elementary School project as a baseline and used the total construction project costs of that project, which were building, as you all know, the kindergarten, 6 kindergarten classrooms. So the answer is that with the 28,000 square feet at today's costs, we can build those classrooms with the funding available. That was the first, does it pass the smell test of, can we accomplish this with the amount of money that the state would provide? So the answer is yes. Let's go to the next. Any questions on this? Please feel free to ask questions as we go on.
What's a non-severe classroom?
It's a special ed classroom. It's just that's the classification, non-severe.
It's also called mild moderate.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. So also in the presentation 2 weeks ago, 2 board meetings ago, there was identification of the next steps, which was CDE approval, DSA approval, and then ultimately the project funding. What I'd like to include in this, next slide, Sally, is the specific deadlines for each one of these if we're to be able to access this funding. So for CDE approval, we need to have CDE approval by the end of this year. And that involves programming the project, designing to a certain extent the project to design development, and developing a program that CDE would, the California Department of Education would approve. In order to achieve that approval by the end of the year, we would have to submit to CDE by November 1st. So by November 1st, we would have to submit the program, the design, the initial design up to design development, and fill in several paperwork that needs to be submitted. That's one milestone that would need to be met in order to access some funding. Second milestone would be to have DSA approval by June 30th of 2022. So again, in order to achieve DSA approval, we would be looking to submit to DSA about the beginning of February. Does that make sense? Once we get DSA approval by the end of June, we would submit to the state allocation board and fill all the paperwork so that at the November meeting, they would award this funding to the Tropical project. We don't get the money in November. We get it until May of the following year because they have to, it goes into the next state bond sale for these types of funding. So it would be until May of 2023 when we would actually get the funding. Check in bank account. Or the county bank account. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's go to one thing that's critical. Before we're able to get to CDE approval, we need to design the project, which is a big step. So we need to, if the board were to want to go down this path, we need to hire an architect for this project. And let's go to the next one, Sally. So in conversations with your current architect who's doing Rosemont Elementary School, we had a long discussion. Can we make these timelines? Was the first question I had. And what would it take to be able to accomplish this? So this schedule came directly from your architect. I reviewed it. I believe it is very achievable. Let's go to the next one. This is the two lines that would take us to CDE, submit to CDE November 1st, and ultimately get approval by the end of the year. This would require a lot of activities happening in a very short order from now until then. I believe they're all very doable. We can certainly do it, but we need to start very quickly. Let's go to the next one. And this is the path to get to DSA approval by end of June of next year, 2022. Any questions about this? Let's go to the next one, Sally. So ultimately, I think after analyzing where the district is in terms of the amount of money that's available to the district, our recommendation would be, or the path forward that we would recommend would be to start the design process as soon as humanly possible. so we can meet these deadlines, because otherwise, the access to the money would go. There's a challenge in that there's a cash flow issue, at least initially, because the $21 million wouldn't be available until May of 2023. So there's funds required from now until then to get the design process going, to be able to get the approvals required along the way. So there's, that piece would need to be solved, obviously, prior to moving forward.
Do you have an estimate on what that may be?
The
The estimate for the design.
The initial cash outlay from now until May of 2023, probably a little over $2 million.
Okay.
However, the architect, I know, has made a commitment of lowering their fee, at least until getting Dsa approval, so, or CDE approval. So to minimize that cash flow impact, if you will.
Yeah, we can copy back and forth with the
Yeah.
architects. And this will be basically the same as like what we're doing with the kindergarten classrooms.
Yes.
Just a kind of a side question. Who did Jack Northrup Elementary School?
I do not know.
I just happened to be in that area the other day, and it looks similar to what we're doing
Okay. At Rosemont.
at Rosemont. And that's a good school. Really.
Uh,
So
yeah, I'm not familiar with it.
I was trying to look on here, it's a little small, I didn't bring my glasses. How much time do you have of the Division of State Architect for approval?
I believe it's about 4 months.
About 4 months?
Yes.
Do you think that's feasible?
Yes. Yes. The type of buildings that like we're using at the elementary school have pre-approved designs with DSA. So that helps accelerate the process a little bit to allow us to meet the timeline.
We would still have to go out for bidding.
Yes.
So it would be after the funding that we'll start breaking ground.
probably be
Correct.
2 years before we break ground.
Yes.
After the funding.
After the funding.
But at that funding, at that point when we actually get the funding, the project's already designed, it's ready to bid.
What if? I mean, there's so many. I mean, you got some close dates on here. I was reading some of them, 2 days, 3 days, 1 day. Man, I mean,
It's gonna be really tight.
No doubt about it.
And we need to manage that process with that goal in mind.
problem is we gotta put up $2 billion up front. And
Correct.
if we miss one of these dates, we're probably gonna be in trouble and lose that $2 million.
And
Or
if
lose the funding.
Yeah, if you miss one of those dates, you'll know by December.
And at that point, I think we would be out
Couple 100,000.
200,000.
Correct.
That's for the architect to redesign,
Correct.
right?
For CD, just to get the CD approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if in December you didn't meet, collectively we didn't meet that date, that's when you stop
Stop it.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Ortiz, if I can just ask you, you mentioned something about that just, about the bonds in 2023. We would have to rely on,
the state sale of the state bonds,
State
not
bonds.
local bonds, but state bonds,
And that happens annually?
regularly.
Okay,
I believe they do it twice a year.
okay.
And they fund, through that process, they want to fund not only Southern Kern, but 60 other school projects throughout the state.
The issue here, as I see it, is it's very hard to, there's a little risk in the timeline, I get that, but it's also a little bit difficult to walk away from $21 million. That is.
And ultimately, you would get 28 new classrooms, at the middle school. That's important.
And they said last time we're guaranteed on books right now this $21 million.
Yes, that's in the
Guaranteed.
state books right now.
And your company's gonna watch this? progression?
We're gonna be on top of it every day.
And you're gonna guarantee your company can give us?
Well, we're building Rosemont Elementary for you right now. And
It's just the times we live in. I mean, if
we've been doing this for,
if Barry goes out with COVID and didn't turn in the paperwork for 10 days, I mean,
Yeah.
we're in a different environment right
Yeah.
now. I mean,
you're absolutely right.
we could get shut down.
Yeah.
So that's $200,000. We could gain 21 million, but we could be throwing away $200,000.
It's tough, I agree with you, Jim, but there's an old saying in motion, you've got to determine,
Yeah, military got plenty of funds, so.
not necessarily. But the point is that you either plan for the day and spend for tomorrow, or you're gonna lose it. So,
In my opinion, risking 200,000 to potentially gain 21.3 million is a good deal.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I don't think I'm gonna disagree with you on that one, Dan.
So if we decided to move forward, if we decided to do that, then we would provide ed specs tomorrow, that would begin tomorrow to get this first phase started, right?
It would start immediately, yes. There would be a future board item, I'm sure, to, memorialize the contracts with the,
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I didn't see a.
we wanted to get direction first, which way to go.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
If
Phil, Mary.
if you think that we can do it for the 21 that we're gonna get, and my biggest worry was that in today's dollars compared to what it was 10 years ago when we submitted, it was gonna be so much more. I was figuring somewhere around 30, 31, 32 million to do that project.
With, I think the original project had a lot of other stuff associated.
Correct. And so a lot of that other stuff is no longer gonna be in the
Correct.
scope at all.
Yeah, the calculations I did was based on the prices that we're getting right now at Rosemont Elementary.
Now, will that change in 2 years? That's another one.
I included some escalation, yes, without a doubt it will change.
Yeah,
I did include some escalation costs going forward,
15%?
10% a year.
Okay.
So for 3 years to
Okay.
get to midpoint of construction. I have a little note here, just quickly. The project over there is $5 million project cost, which includes design fees and all the permitting, et cetera. At 8,600 square feet that we're building, it is about $578 a square foot. So That multiplied by 3 years of escalation at 10% takes us to $752 a square foot in 2024. So just based on that level of analysis, we can do the 28,000 square feet for $21.3 million.
Okay.
And Mr. Bender, to your point, there are no guarantees, I mean, because there's COVID and stuff that happens, but based on the information that we haven't had, which is the way that I guess that's the only way we can make decisions based on what we haven't had currently. The numbers pan out.
If I agree to this, I need the construction meetings moved to like 9 o'clock, so I can really see what's going on, because 8:30 is ain't cutting it, man. I'm barely dropping kids off at that time,
That's true.
so
Um,
I can see with my own eyes, hear with my own ears, kind of thing.
Did we look at tropical area where we're gonna build these and talk to
Well, all
Raleigh
that-
and see if there's anything that we're gonna run into, like some pipes underneath the ground?
We haven't-
We haven't done anything.
We haven't done anything at all,
Anything like that?
and I guarantee you we're gonna run into
We're
pipes.
gonna-
There'll probably be some wood around, and there'll be some asbestos. Because the school is really old.
Sure.
So, I think it is a risk, but I think we need to take.
I think you could benefit the children a great deal with 28.
I mean.
Oh, yeah, we can get rid of a lot of the old classrooms that are falling apart over there.
Will it replace some existing classrooms
It'll-
or just brand new classrooms?
Well, these will all be brand new, we'll be eliminating a lot of the old portables that are over there.
Yeah, that's all I'm for.
Right now, we haven't designed anything. Right now, it's just a blank slate.
Okay.
So we need to get going on defining what we're gonna build. And then once we define, the architect needs to start drawing like quickly to get it to CD.
So we need to drop
You said we have to have it to CD.
okay this and get it going.
November.
Yeah,
November
we'll bring that back
2
on.
months
This is
from
an
today.
action item just for you. Do you want to move forward and then we'll bring it back next?
So we do have an action item on it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we should be.
The redesign on letter C. Page 4.
So we're gonna jump ahead to number C, which is an action for allowing to redesign the tropical to leverage the state funding. I will make a motion because I've been at all the meetings.
I'll second it.
That. And Mr. Winslow will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay. Sorry, I still got it.
I'm a nay too.
3-2. And our board member.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Return back to
Now we can go back to
reports and communications.
okay. CSEA, do we have a report?
Good evening, everybody. I am Helen Mitchell. I am the CSEA Chapter 587 reporter. I am here on behalf of the CSEA and some of our classified employees that are members of the CSEA. I have gotten a massive amount of emails and communications and questions and phone calls just regarding some things that are going on in the district right now. So collectively with Mark Noterman, we put this together, just a laundry list of concerns and questions that we wanted to address the board with. So, good evening. CSEA Chapter 587 would like to address the board regarding some concerns from classified staff members. Please note we are not speaking for all of the Southern Kern Unified School District Union members, just a large group that has come to us with grievances. A number of us feel that there is a lack of communication between SKUSD administration and the classified staff. We have questions that I hope you're willing to answer for us tonight so that we may put an end to constant uncertainty and rumors. One of the biggest issues pertains to COVID-19 testing and mask rules. A number of tests have gone missing, the main dates being Monday, August 23rd and Tuesday, August 24th. What happened? Why are the staff and students that tested able to return to work or school before receiving their results? There have also been a number of complaints in regards to the way the testing site is run. Is the board aware that individuals with symptoms are placed within 1 to 2 feet of others to pull their masks down and administer the test? Regarding the mask rules and mandate, why do PE teachers and staff not need to wear a mask outside while other employees do? These questions lead to an even bigger concern pertaining to COVID and the COVID stipend. 3 district office employees are being given a COVID stipend of $10,000. Was there an option for other employees to apply for this? What does this position entail to constitute the salary of $10,000? Most importantly, where is this money coming from? We now have 2 assistant superintendent positions when there was only 1 before, costing an increase of $50,000. Is this the best way to spend our funds when classified employees haven't seen a raise in a number of years? Shouldn't more of the revenue be allocated towards the staff that are working directly with students? Above all, why is there a stipend for a position that does not seem to be executed properly? Lastly, we do not understand that everyone is stretched, or we understand that everyone is stretched thin at the moment. Positions are flown with no applications received, and a large number of employees are affected by the pandemic. That being said, why is the district not allowing available employees to work 2 positions, at least in the meantime? It has been done before, especially in transportation and food service. Why not in other positions? Will you allow classified employees to work more than 1 position if they do not exceed 8 hours? This could be a great help with after-school activities in regards to safety and security. We have many of our members willing to step up and help. We appreciate your willingness to listen and answer our questions. The most important thing is making sure that we are a team and we are supporting one another while making our students our top priority. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful evening. Sincerely, on behalf of CSEA Chapter 587, Mark Noterman and Alan Mitchell.
Do you want me to address them now or in an email, or how would you like?
Now.
Now, okay. Hopefully I can remember the gist.
I know, I apologize.
No, not necessary. Let's talk first about August 23rd and August 24th, the tests. I want to make it very clear to everyone who's watching or listening this evening that it doesn't matter in the district if we have 1 test a day or 30 tests a day. We drop the tests off every single day, Monday through Friday. They are dropped off at the facility that was recommended to the district to drop off our tests. Our courier is FedEx. We've been dropping off tests now for, I want to say, probably close to almost a year. And those 2 days were the first time, I don't know what happened. The place where we drop off the test says FedEx picked them up. What happened from the time FedEx picked them up to the time they were supposed to have been dropped at the laboratory, I don't know. When we tried to trace them with the tracking number, they couldn't even find the tracking number. Those things happen. I can tell you that the tests that have been dropped off since those 2 days, we've already received some results back from those tests, and they have been picked up. What have we done in the meantime to help that situation? We now are doing a double drop off, a double pickup, I should say. We now have FedEx coming to Southern Kern for 1 pickup daily, and then we are continuing to drop the later evening, between 5 and 6 daily. If there are additional tests, FedEx picks up at about 3:30 from our district, and then anything that comes into the testing center after that, we still drop off between 5 and usually about 5 and 5:30. So that's apologies. Believe me, we called a lot of people to have to tell them that we don't know where your test is. Why, I certainly hope someone didn't steal a box or two of tests because they were probably terribly disappointed. So with regard to increase in cabinet over here, we had an employee retire, and it's critical in human resources that the person who mans the human resources department be a certificated employee. So it gave me an opportunity when an employee retired to be able to move a trained employee into that department, and then that left open a position to then move someone into the curriculum and instruction department. And so that's basically what happened there.
So it was more of a shift around
It was kind of a shift, and the person who retired, that portion of that person's salary then just kind of got shifted over to the other position. I think for any district to function with a high level of accuracy and rigor, you have to have, as I always say to my cabinet members every Tuesday morning, you have to have the right people on the bus in these positions. And I'm very, very proud of my cabinet team now, a group of highly effective, hardworking people. So I really believe that this district will move forward with their leadership. So that answers that question.
And the person who moved into that new position was certificated. And the other one that was brought in to the district office was already trained and knew what she was doing in that position.
Well, thank you very much for that additional information. Yes.
Let's add that in there.
Thank you, Dwayne. And so let's see. I am in negotiations. We talked today through email with Anna, who is the CSEA rep for Southern Curd, and we've just been, the president has been out for a little while, so we've just been kind of tossing days back and forth that I could get all my team and all of your team could get together. We have scheduled a negotiation day for September 24th. And so we're looking forward to sitting down and actually going over. We have the proposal submitted by a CSEA was put on the board agenda. I believe it was 2 board meetings ago, along with our proposal to CSEA. So there's a few articles there. Of course, salary and benefits is one of them that we both will be discussing in those negotiations. Remind me some of the others.
Yes. So one of the questions was about the COVID stipend in that position.
Oh, yes, COVID stipend. I want everybody to remember that COVID started for us in March of 2020. We were 1 day away from spring break. And I remember this clearly because we've gone through 19, how many ever months now of pure COVID. This stuff gets embedded in your brain. I remember asking Kern County Superintendent of Schools, can I stay open 1 more day because then I'll be on spring break and COVID will go away and we'll be back after spring break. That was my mindset at the time. And she said, no, you need to close down. So from the time we started the contact tracing, I want you to know that the 3 people that are to get that stipend have been doing this for a year, receiving nothing. They have other jobs. One's an accountant, one's in HR. Sometimes they're here working overtime, making phone calls, doing contact tracing. So we're not taking money from general funds to give them this stipend. we received, and Robert's gonna kill me because I don't think I wrote it down, what it was. Hopefully Robert will remember. We received $110,000 primarily for this reason, to man our testing center and to provide additional stipends to make sure that we are contact tracing, make sure that we are, following who's tested positive or who hasn't. And so I really felt that these three people that are on the board agenda, who have done it without asking really for anything, just continue to do it and do their regular job. Never one time have they come to me and said, I don't want to be doing this COVID, because it's not easy. It's not easy to contact trace. So I stand very firmly that if anybody deserved this stipend, these three people do, and they're still doing it every single day while doing their regular job. So it's above and beyond is what I call it. They deserve the above and beyond award for this. So, and they've actually been doing it now for, I don't know, probably over a year for us. So that was that. With regard to your question about would we allow employees who are working under, where's Leanne? Right here. Hiding from me, Leanne. This is probably an HR question, but I'm just gonna mosey out on that plank a little bit and say, I would think right now would be a perfect time for us to be able to put that in place, because we do, we keep flying positions and flying them, and we're just not getting the applicants. I look at Raleigh and grounds and maintenance sometimes, and oh my gosh, I want to learn how to drive a tractor so I could possibly help in some way, because there's just not enough people out there. But Leanne, I'd like to ask you to look into that for us and see if we can maybe.
I mean, we've even tossed around, like, even if just as not a hiree, but a long-term sub.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to work, there is a position I was willing to work in, there's multiple positions and multiple employees that have come to me and said, well, hey, I could do that, like after school instructor, I have, parent educators or even cafeteria staff that work 2 to 3 hours, and they're like, I could still do that, not go over my hours. Why can't I do it?
Yeah. That's
Like right now we're hurting.
We are hurting, and we have, like Friday evening, I needed custodial staff at RES to disinfect and clean. And so we gave overtime to, I think, 3 or 4 of them that went over there Friday evening, just to make sure that staff at that site returned Monday to a clean and healthy site. So Leanne, I'm gonna put that on your card, and this will look into doing something like this to help our
And when we start doing
situation.
that, will you let us know?
Is there anything out there saying that we can't do that? Why are they feeling they can't do it? There must be something there.
I don't know what the reasoning was, because this is the first district that I've worked in where you can't do that, because every other district I've worked in, it's like, as long as you don't exceed your 8 hours, you're fine to work multiple positions. So I honestly don't know what the reasoning is behind it.
We will look into the contracts, but we'll look, but if there's any feasible way, I love the idea, and I think it's, right now we're a team. Those of us who are here, we are the team, so if we can help our situation by maybe doing another job part-time or something, then it's certainly better than waiting for somebody to apply for a job and seeing that day after day after day, there's just no one out there. People say sometimes there's just not a lot of workforce out there right now. People don't really necessarily want to apply for jobs. So I don't know, I'm not going to judge, but I think that's a great idea. So, and was there anything else?
Yes, one of the ones that I'm getting a lot of questions about, every time an email goes out with the mask mandate, and I know it's very clear, but there is one thing that a lot of our employees were uncertain about. In your last email, you said that if you are working in PE and you are outside, you do not need to wear a mask, correct? But
Yes.
if you are a regular employee, so let's say a teacher is outside with their class, does that teacher need to have a mask on?
Yeah, the reason and the answer to that is yes. Here's my mindset. First of all, thank you for calling it a mandate. It is the law. It's not Southern Current, it's not a law created by this board or me. They took an oath to abide by the law, and the law says that our employees either have to show proof of vaccination or they have to just test every week. We're concerned about what the results are, but really we just want them to test for their own protection. So the mindset about the physical education and the kids is that they're out there actually doing warm-ups and game activity, etc. The weather has been pretty hot. We want them to, we don't want kids passing out there. And that's why I advise that all the elementary children have also their water bottles with them. We sent that notice home to our parents saying, please send them with water bottles, etc. Teachers walking are still walking with their class or whatever, except for protection, not only for the teacher, but for the students. And so that is why really, if at all possible, we want them when they're with the kids outside to have the masks on. Obviously, if the teacher is eating, or any staff member is eating in a room by themselves or even in a room with other colleagues, the best thing is to distance space. We know that if they're eating or drinking, the mask is going to be pulled down. So we understand that. We've asked our elementary administrators to distance space the kids. Mr. Irving bought them again additional stickers so that they can place them all over the cafeteria tables so the kids know exactly where to sit, and those tables are cleaned after every lunch. So those are the reasons we're following the mandates. Sometimes people don't understand. They think that if a child in a class comes down with a positive test, that we need to shut down the whole class or inform everybody. There's HIPAA laws that protect people from knowing who has tested positive, and we follow the guidelines and requirements to alienate who really does need to be contacted and informed that their child has been exposed. Now the mandate now says even if the child has been exposed, wearing a mask and is asymptomatic, they may remain in school as long as they test once. So my COVID team, that $10,000 may sound like a lot of money, but the number of phone calls and emails that they answer every day is, all three of them is, I don't know that anybody would really want to do that work. I'm just grateful that they've hung in with it this long.
And this is where the communication comes in, because when we see that, and then we're not knowing exactly the time frame, what it entails, like where is it coming from, so.
It's from the time they get here mostly until sometimes after their regular work hours.
Right, and on the communication part of things, when you guys send us an email, let's send the email and ask questions. Let's not send an email and just complain where I'm reading complaints for 5 minutes. Because then it's like, what do you want me to answer? You're not asking me a question, I feel like you're just out here venting to me and
I would definitely say there's a lack of professionalism.
Right, and then another thing is, Leanne, when you start, if they start helping out doing extra things during their working hours, let me know, because I've noticed in the past, I've seen it at some school sites I was at, you ask someone to go do something else, and I've heard it, it's not in my job description, or there's a big group of people that are willing to work extra jobs, and then when it comes down to it, nobody wants to do it. So, I will watch out for that.
Not only that, but as a union rep, don't you have access to Leanne? Don't you have access to Barbara if you ask? Rather than bring out all these things that you don't have the answers for, you can get the answers without having to bring it out. I'm not saying don't bring it out publicly, because we see a lot of the emails, but I'm not going to answer them. They're going to go straight to Mrs. Gaines. And it's just as easy for you to set up a meeting rather than get up in a thing and say, hey, get your answers, rather than, and then you'll have it. And if we need to do it publicly, we can do it publicly.
The
But
issue is there's so many to address at this moment. It would take me hours to get back to everybody. The amount of emails that I received and phone calls and not having Gary here right now and me being new to the CSE.
well, no, I'm just saying, when you get all these questions, you can set up a time to go talk and discuss it. Rather than, because I'm seeing a lot, I know he's seeing it, and I've seen a couple others. We're getting a lot of Facebook comments out there that people are, and some of this stuff is coming out there, and it's misinformation. And you know what happens with Facebook? Misinformation turns into chaos.
Oh, yeah.
And you can easily handle that.
Delete the Facebook network's good.
Yeah, but you can still talk to her and still get your information. I mean, and keep it internally. And then, we'll find out about it. That's nothing you don't have to worry about. But the thing is that it turns into a lot of misinformation going out. And,
But even me communicating, me getting an email, setting up a meeting with Leanne, taking their time, because I know they're busy for everything that comes along. It doesn't all come along in one shot.
but you got a nice long laundry list.
Yes,
Okay,
because
when you
this
get your
is-
laundry
this is a
list,
couple
then you can
weeks.
set up the meeting.
Because I've called and you can ask Miss Lacey, you can ask Leanne, you can ask, I've even spoken to Barbara on the phone multiple times. It has been so many inquiries and so many questions, and then we feel like the answers that we're getting, or the answers that some of these employees are getting are different from the answers that other employees are getting. So rather than he said, she said, because that's what it is if I'm going to them and then going to the other person, if we're doing it publicly and we're getting the answers and they are reported, there's no he said, she said.
And also, I send out emails to the entire staff often, and sometimes it's, even if they read it in black and white, people's perception of what it says, sometimes I can't control that. So I just have to resend it out, or I try to explain. But please always feel that you can come and see me, because I have a lot of people who email me and call me or come into my office, just drop by on a daily basis. And we really, Miss Sally and I try to get through to see every single one of them. They may have to come back a few minutes later, but we really try to see everybody, because I really want everybody to understand what is, and I want them to understand that the mandate, Kern County Superintendent of Schools is a phenomenal, they do a phenomenal job protecting and overseeing their 46 school districts, and they provide us with a wealth of information. And the California Department of Public Health is at every one of our meetings. Sometimes we meet 2 or 3 times a week, and there are changes and updates periodically. Just had a new update the other day. So things change. I always welcome people to come and ask me questions and to set it, to make sure that everybody understands what's going on.
And Superintendent Gates, I really appreciate you taking my phone call the other day, but like I said, that I know you were busy. That took a bunch of time just answering one question, so I just wanted to address it for everybody that's asking me, and just to make sure that, like I said, we're communicating.
It's okay, it's my job, and I have no problem doing that. Thank you.
Thank you for it.
Okay. RTA. Okay.
My list has grown in the last few minutes. Mr. Vinslet, please remember your union leaders have full-time jobs. That we do this in addition to our full-time jobs. I've been doing it for 25 years, and I've spent thousands of hours helping the district in its quest to be successful. And I haven't gotten paid dime one to do it. So when you say just set up a meeting, that means I've got to get a substitute for my classroom, not teach my students, so that I can go meet with the district administration to be able to do that. I agree with you. Our district administration does a great job in responding to our concerns, but it's not quite as easy as it seems. I'm also going to stick my nose in where it doesn't belong, because that's what I do best. The one thing in what Ms. Mitchell, right? Fallon. Not gonna say anything about being a former student. Don't want to embarrass you there. But great job, by the way, welcome. The one thing I would say about what you're discussing regarding these, not added positions, but the ability to work double positions and about the stipends that the district has got on the board agenda tonight, is RTA is adamant that whenever we have any kind of a position that gives somebody an opportunity to earn extra money, that it be posted and fairly available to everybody within the bargaining unit to be able to apply for. And I know there are certain situations that limit, who really can be considered. But from a CSEA standpoint, that's one thing I would be concerned about with these 2 and 3 job positions, and even how the stipends on tonight's board agenda were decided and put into place, being equally available. Regarding what Mr. Moore said regarding asking a question rather than just sending a complaint, I did have one item on my agenda tonight that I did send an email to Mr. Bender this week. I think it was on Monday, with a CC to all of the board members. And I was just double checking. There was a question in there. It wasn't just a complaint. And I don't even think I worded it as a complaint, but there was a question in there. My question, not in the email, is, was my email received by the board? Because I didn't get a response, even a thank you got it from any of the board members. So was it received?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
But we won't respond, that's what I'm trying to tell you, we won't respond.
And that was my question is, can you respond if I send it? Can I finish my question? Sorry. If I send it to one of you, can you respond?
No, I will not respond. I will forward it on, but I will not respond.
If I asked your opinion about an issue as a board member, you would not respond? Would you respond to a community member?
I respond, Jim.
What are you talking about?
Let me put it to you this way. As a board member, what we do here, we can only do as a board. As a community member and as a board member outside, the answer is that if it's responsible to, yes. But in most cases, they have not been, that will go to Mrs. Gaines. And that's the way that I've always operated, even before.
I understand.
Because it's not my, the rule of thumb is that there's only 2 people who can speak for the board. That's Mr. Gutierrez and Mrs. Gaines. And that's the way that it's been that way for as long as I can remember.
Is it reasonable to expect a response just to say it was received, or not even that?
You don't have a way to
I'll
get
respond
it.
to.
Jim, I will respond to that. I really appreciated it. And I'm taking in deep concern about it, and I'm considering it deeply, what you told me, because I believe that's something that your personal belief and mine, and I've been really trying to look at it in your eyes.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna try to change anybody's
And I
personal
know,
belief.
but I'm
Yeah,
I want to look at it like everyone else. I don't want, it's my belief, and I'm really strong on it still, but I want to be considered to other people's belief too, what they believe. So I read your email several times. I looked at it a few more times after just reading it. And it got me thinking some more. And I haven't figured out how to respond or where I'm at on it. There were some things I was going to say tonight about it, but I didn't want to because I'm considering what you said.
But he's just asking, when he sends us an email as a board,
It
let's
wasn't
just
just
say,
No, I thought it was
let's just
directed
say.
It was
him.
more personally
Directed
to
at
me,
him.
and I should have probably said, thanks, Jim. But I didn't because I wanted to really consider it, really give it some thought.
And I copied the board because the question within my email was directed at all the board members because it's a very critical and important question about the state of our district. I know as well as anybody the role of the board, the role of the superintendent, and the role of the bargaining units. And I've always strived tremendously to respect those boundaries. And I respect, the position the board members are put in. So my question tonight was very simply, was the email received? And my follow-up question was, if I email all of you based on the Brown Act, are you allowed to respond? And Probably, possibly not.
Yeah.
But if I email one or two of you, are you allowed to respond by the pronoun?
That's kind of iffy. Because if we respond and we all say yes to something, that is a violation of the Brown Act as that we all agree on that subject.
It's polling, is what
And
it is.
it's polling. So, but the only thing we could do would be to say, thank you for the email, basically. But we cannot respond at all to the question or whatever it's in.
Which I appreciate from the district administration. They all get my emails. And I appreciate when they just respond real quick, like, got it, thanks, something like that, just so I know it got through.
Okay.
And I'm good with it. If the role of the board by communication is to receive information and you can personally digest it and we understand that that's the playing field, I'm fine with that and I understand it fully.
Yeah, I'm always real cautious about not violating any of the Brown Act laws.
Right.
Because you can get in real trouble. And I just, 9 out of 10 times, I will not respond to any email that somebody sends me other than Barbara, if she needs something strictly from me, and she knows not to email everybody, just emails me.
Yeah, and like I said, I also try to respect these meetings in terms of following Robert's Rule of Order, knowing when it's not appropriate for me to speak unless the board gives me that opportunity. Next,
I will tell you this, I will start sending you, thank you, got it, something, like, I know you all get hundreds of emails every day, so do I get it from the state, I get them from here, I get them from school staff, community members, and the Senator of Student Enrollment at ABC, so I'm constantly getting emails from there.
well, and
I'm getting emails from my job, so, I mean, it's hard to keep up and say, okay, got it.
I agree.
I'll try.
And I think Mr. Gutierrez would agree with me that in the 20 years we've sat across the table from each other in these meetings, I probably sent him 10 emails, maybe 15 at the most. I'm not going after the board or directing my questions at the board on a constant basis. RTA believes that our position is to work with the superintendent and with the district administration over the issues that are brought to us. And at any time, if the reports that I give at these board meetings, you feel don't provide you with any kind of positive benefit, you may not agree with what I'm saying, but you may want to hear it. If you think that what I'm doing in my position as RTA president is counterproductive to these meetings, let me know. Let me know, because I want you to have that information, but in an appropriate manner.
And go back to the one thing, a couple things for you, Jim. One, I'll take any of your emails anytime. You'll know that I will. Okay, and I'll agree with what the way. We'll send you, I'll just say like, thank you, and that's all you're gonna get. The other one of the reasons why that when I saw your email, I look at it, that is Mr. Bender's position. Doesn't necessarily it's mine, doesn't necessarily Sonny's, Dwayne's, Mario's, Mrs. Gaines. I don't want to answer that position. You know what I'm saying? That's his position. Whether I agree with it or disagree with it, that's me. And I'm not going to go express that. Okay? So that's one of the reasons why I would not have answered something like that as well.
Well, again, most of the email was informational.
Yep.
Not necessarily about Mr. Bender's position. And Jim, I appreciate what you said earlier. I really, really do. It was informational for the whole board and a question for the whole board. But yes, it was addressed to Mr. Bender with copies to the rest of the board. I'm going to move on. I'm getting continued requests from teachers to have board meetings in a larger venue as often as possible so that there's room to attend. I got to tell you, I'm in the classroom every day with, and other teachers from anywhere from 20 to 35 students, and every single day, every single period, I'm uncomfortable. I am gravely uncomfortable sitting here right now. So a larger venue I know other teachers want to attend, and I know personally I would feel more comfortable if we had that opportunity. Another item is that I think was brought up by Fallon also that there are many questions from teachers regarding the procedures and protocols with positive tests of students and or staff. But important to note, per Mrs. Gaines' request, what I'm doing is continually referring those questions to the district's email address for the COVID team, because I don't know all the answers. And I'm teaching 5 classes a day, and I want them to have the direct contact. And as Fallon said, rather than getting secondhand information, getting the firsthand information. So I do appreciate the time and effort those people are putting in and have put in the past, because I do know there's a lot of time and effort being done there. Lastly, I think RTA has received the district's counter proposal on our current negotiations. It's still going to take a while, but we are working to schedule our next meeting. We've also received a counter proposal for an MOU on the contracting of teachers outside the bargaining unit. This is still a very serious, concerning issue that we want to get resolved. I am not happy with the counter proposal, but I'll talk to Mrs. Gaines about that. It's under consideration, and RTA will respond to that soon. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much.
CDO, Mr. Irving.
All right. On the floor agenda under the consent items are is a donation from Grocery Outlet that at the last board meeting, Barbara spoke that we were at their grand opening, or the ribbon cutting. I just want to give them a shout out and say thank you once again for donating to the district. We greatly appreciate it and are glad to have them as a new member of the community, or at least as a business as a member of the community. So the official grant title for CDPH is oh shoot, give me 1 second, sorry, wasn't prepared. Is the COVID-19 School Testing Operational Support Grant, and this is what is funding those stipends as well as the cost of shipping and all of that in terms of, this is money from the California Department of Public Health. This is not general fund money. This is frankly money that I didn't know existed until we got an email about it 3-4 weeks ago. So they've given us a grant that covers the cost of the stipends, the salary of the staff working in the testing center, the cost of transporting the tests, even especially as we increase the number of outgoing shipments a day to mediate some of the increased need for the testing center, where the governor's vaccine or testing mandate came out the middle of our first day of school. So we got all of 16 hours heads up on it. So we've moved as quickly and unfortunately not as efficiently as we would like. But while we had the testing center open in February, from February to June, there were 154 samples that were scanned at the testing center. From the first day of school through today, we're at 471 already. So the volume has picked up tremendously over the last couple weeks due to this mandate, and we've tried to pivot and adjust and become more of a public health center than my finance degree ever prepared me for. We didn't cover pandemics, well, between bombs and different stocks, but we're trying to our best, and we're trying to make sure that this works. And we've had some stumbling blocks with the logistics portion of it that we hopefully have, as we explore options and other ways of doing things, continue to get better at. It's not, we're not looking at, okay, well, we met the part where we did the test, and after that we, wipe our hands. We want, everyone who's gone down there to test to make sure that they, get their results in a timely manner. So there's a little bit of information on the testing center there. Last board meeting, part of the goals and, plans for the board was the hydration stations, where we're all aware that the well water at the high school is not super good. We typically don't have to post warnings about how good the water is. But to mediate that temporarily while we, have plans to be connected to domestic water instead of just the well for the high school, we've increased the amount of sparklets dispensers and sparklets jugs at the high school. Tomorrow, another dispenser and more bottles of water will be delivered from sparklets, and more research is being done on a long-term solution other than, hunkering down and just going with sparklets. But if there's a permanent fixture installed anywhere that has the proper filters that address the needs of the water, that we don't wind up with something that's really only focused on rust and lead, and really we need something else to deal with arsenic or whatever else that might be contaminating. So we're doing more research on that to find a suitable solution that addresses both the need for water, but make sure that the filters at the snuff. Otherwise, it's kind of a moot point and some cost. And that is it from me right now.
I work the water. It's all free, right?
Yes.
Yeah. To the students, yes.
I was gonna say.
To us, no. For the students, yes.
We're not getting it free. That's for sure.
It's not a question, it's a clarification. They can buy bottled water off of our roving snack cart, and that is $1. So I do want to tell you they can do that. And then we have 2 large igloo containers now, so they can refill water bottles too.
We just want to make sure, Mrs. Akinini and Mr. Shevlin, that the new dispensers that are arriving on your site are accessible to the students, not only the entire school day, but anyone who's involved in an after-school program or sport could have access to that water the entire day. Thank you.
Assistant Superintendent Lacy?
Well, our Williams visits were last Friday and this past Monday. They went pretty well. We did have one small issue at one of the elementaries where we already have fixed that. There were just a few books missing from one of the special education classrooms, and we've already ordered those and they're ready to go. And the other elementary school had a minor issue with some facilities, but we've got that fixed as well. So everything went well with the Williams visit. As usual, the reports I've gotten from all the site administrators is that the Kern County Superintendent of School personnel that came out to do the visit had nothing but awesome things to say about our staff, our students, and our schools. So it went pretty well. Noemi and April have been conducting the Lpac testing for all of our new initial testing, I should say, for all of the new enrolling students that have come in that haven't been assessed in yet. So they have a few students, I think, left at the high school, and maybe 1 or 2 other at other schools that just haven't been able to catch at school. And so they should be getting that done by either this Friday or early next week, which is within that 30-day timeline that they have to be conducted. I did get to visit Rare Earth High School in Abraham Lincoln for my monthly meeting with them this past Monday. I visited classrooms, got to see the teachers and the students in class, and I can tell you that every class I walked into, and I walked into every one of them, the students in there were working diligently. I got to see Escalation firsthand, which I'd heard lots of different things about it, but it was really nice to see the students working on it, taking notes like they're asked to do, and they were all working hard, it was really nice to see. So I just was really impressed with the positive learning environment that the school has become, and kudos to Nino and the staff over there. It was a really good visit, and I did enjoy going over there. I've been researching K through 2 intervention programs to amp up instruction in phonics and things to go along with one of the board goals. And I've set up one presentation for Barbara and I next week. So, Mrs. Gaines, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. So hopefully that will be a little intervention program to help us with our students in the lower elementary grades. Also, I still continue to meet with parents regarding independent study transfers. So hopefully soon that will start to slowly lessen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Associate Superintendent Hargis.
All right, over in HR, we are very, very busy trying to fill all of those open spots that we have. We're kind of getting down to just a few open spots, but as has been mentioned, substitutes certainly are at a premium, but there are a couple, you'll notice on the board agenda, we have found a few. So that's kind of exciting. One of the things about substitutes, and this is mainly for the certificated, the teaching substitutes, is a lot of people that have been subs in the past, they found jobs this year due to our, significant teacher shortage. And so we're sharing a very small pool of people between, our district, and then they also are in subbing in other districts as well. So, but we certainly are, calling people and, encouraging them to come out to Southern Kern and sub for us out here. So constantly looking for additional staff. As far as, our classified staff wanting to sub, we do definitely have some areas that's really a hard, a lot of those have been very difficult to fill. Tomorrow we are going to be doing some interviews for kindergarten teachers. We have a spot at each one of our elementaries. We do have about 4 candidates for those 2 positions. We're going to be doing some CSO interviews on Friday. So certainly just, trying to keep up, to get those spots filled. We still are short a couple of certificated special ed teachers, but we are, continuing to look. We're actually short 3. We're still short an SDC at the high school due to overages. We're short an RSP teacher at the high school. And then fortunately we have a sub in our Mod Severe at our elementary site, but still continue to look for those special ed teachers.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Gaines.
Okay, thank you, President Gutierrez. I just want to say good evening and welcome everyone who is joining us this evening. I want to thank, first of all, our site administrators who are here and also our crossing guards who joined us this evening. Thank you for just being here and the support. We are now in week 3 of school, and I cannot tell you, we have overcome a lot of obstacles in the past 3 weeks, and traffic at Roseman Elementary was one. We're still fighting the good fight there, but the traffic situation has gotten better there. Thank you, Mr. Mesa and Mrs. Compton, for all the work that you do every day to get our kids inside the campus safe. COVID is a difficult time. I'm just going to say this is difficult not only for Southern Kern and our site, our district team and the site team, but for the teachers and the parents and the students. We're all really still charting these waters that every single day we get new mandates, or we get guidelines change. So we are doing our very, very best. We do follow the California Department of Public Health and Kern County Public Health. And I meet regularly with the Kern County Superintendent of Schools to get the updates on everything. So I just ask for our parents and our staff members, please continue your patience, and hopefully the prediction is that we're going to reach the peak, and we should be coming down the other side of that in the next couple of weeks. So I just ask for everybody's grace during this time. I had the pleasure of meeting with Captain Wallace and Captain Cahill, our Cadet Corps captains from the high school in Tropico this past week. And one of the things that I learned about at Kern County Superintendent of Schools is a program called Honor Flight. And Honor Flight is where our World War II veterans, our Korean veterans, and our Vietnam veterans, our money is being raised to take them from California to Washington, D.C., so they can spend 2 or 3 days there visiting all the memorials, especially the ones for the war that they served in. So I wanted to, coming from a military family, I wanted to get Captain Wallace and Captain Cahill's input on this and sit down with them and say, how can we help with this? So we're going to be doing a couple projects in the next few months to support this honor flight, and also having our Cadet Corps just write letters of appreciation to all of our veterans. And what happens is they read these letters on the flight from LA to Washington, D.C. So they were very excited, and of course, they're going to come up with some even better ideas. So just want to remind everybody that Back to School Night at Tropico is this Thursday. It will be held via Zoom or via Google Meets. And on September 8th, we will have this Back to School Night at the high schools, grades 9 through 12. And it will also be held out of taking an abundance of caution to protect our families and staff. It will also be held via Zoom and Google Meets. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Alexi.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent Gaines, Cabinet members, and guests. I'm Alexi Finch, ASB President, and I'm going to recap the start of the school year. We had our first Spirit Week August 23rd through the 27th. Seniors had their senior sunrise on the 27th. Volleyball and football both have started their season and have already had their first games. The varsity girls for volleyball also have a mammoth tournament next weekend. We had cheer tryouts during the week of August 24th through the 27th. We had a club rush scheduled for September 7th and September 8th during both lunches in hopes to get more students involved in our campus. Cadet Corps went to the grocery outlet for their grand opening and are planning a 9/11 ceremony, and we also are starting to plan for homecoming. As you can see, we have had a successful start to this school year. Thank you for your time.
And it's very nice to have you on board with us. Okay, board communication. Sunny.
How you guys doing out there? Great. It's like kind of what you were saying, Barbara. We have to be flexible. Things change. People are getting frustrated, and it's better than it was before when it started. The kids could be at home still. They're in school, and there's a lot of people need to be a little more flexible and just have a little more patience. And it's difficult, but we can do this together. We just need to have a little more patience with each other and more communication and a little more transparency. And we've definitely come a long way from where we started. And if we just kind of stick together and communicate with each other, we're going to get through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny. Mr. Winslet.
Yes, sir. Okay. Just to reiterate, communications that's one of my backgrounds is communications. We need to know what's going on. We will take your emails. As we mentioned before, we're not going to respond to them because of potential Brown Act and other violations. But doesn't mean that we don't see them, doesn't mean that they don't get passed on. Ask Mrs. Gaines because she's seen a lot of my emails with a lot of snapshots of certain things, and she has responded. So keep the communications coming. The next two items will make Mrs. Akinini kind of happy. I'm going to bring it up tonight because I was at the football game Friday night, and I got a discussion about we need to have some kind of a cart, an electric cart or motorized cart, so in case something happens, we can get the kids off. I watched Mr. Shone try to wrangle out 5 huge bottles of water. It would have been nice for him to have something like that rather than a little pull thing to go out. But most of the schools in the area do have carts, and I'm going to ask that we probably sometime down the line consider purchasing a cart. I want to thank Raleigh and his crew for marking the field properly. That made it a lot easier for the referees. And one of the items that I mentioned to Mrs. Akinini is we need 4 more of the pylons because they're missing in the end zone. So hopefully she's working to get those. As far as schools, everything, I haven't seen too much any complaints or anything about other than some of the weird stuff that we see it on Facebook, but a lot of it is just not answerable. So if you've got complaints, please call the site administrators over at the district. Other than that, that's done for me for now.
Mr. Moore.
I just want to say thank you to everybody watching. Thank you for you guys all coming out tonight. Football game Friday night. I expect from students, staff, parents, community members, whoever you are, if you're there, act right. It's just the right thing to do, and it's common sense, because that's what keeps these kids going. But if we have violence and things going on like that, like throwing trash onto the field, let's just act right so we can keep going to these events. 2, man, I lose my train of thought too much. I don't know. Just move on, I guess.
I'll pick up on that high school football game.
I got it on my back.
Yeah, we need to make sure that football games are safe. I know there's superintendent is all over it already. For us to have a school board meeting and not to address the problem that we did have, I don't think would be right. But we need to really maintain order out there, be safe. It's supposed to be a good, fun time. And unfortunately, the times we live in, there is people that want to come and have some problems. So I think we need to discuss on, maybe put it on agenda or whatever we can do on some solutions. Let's listen to some. I think one that we should start is nobody except for students with IDs from the schools can be on the games. I mean, and the parents. Hate to have to do that to everybody out there, but the main thing is to have fun and be safe out there. And if they're going to make it that way, it's not right for those who come to enjoy a game to be endangered. I don't like that. Also, I like to open up our meetings. Is there any way we can start meeting at other elementary school or something for the board meetings?
We actually could, Mr. Bender, we'll still have to require the mask,
Yes.
but absolutely we can.
Yes, if we could do that, get more people and listen to more opinions, and I'd appreciate that. And I did notice also the $10,000 siphon. It caught my attention. but I do put my trust in my superintendent that she's making the right choices and the jobs are difficult and deserve that. I would like, though, just so we have more of a knowledge of it, if one of them could come maybe to a meeting and sort of give us an overview of the process and how long it takes, and just so we all as a board have a better understanding of it. I know we could go in there and watch a test of it, but it'd be easier if they just give us a quick 10, 15-minute rundown on from the time the student or employee comes in, what takes place, and from that, you know, just a quick rundown. I think that would be really helpful. And that's all I have. Thank you, everybody.
I just want to thank everybody for logging in and being here in person. You guys have addressed everything that I would normally address. So with that, we will continue on. Do we have any comments from the public?
No, we don't.
No comments from the public, so we will dispense with that. Consent items A through K. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I'll move to accept.
Motion by Vince Lip.
Wait a second, hold on. Lex, you guys are saying that the same place you always do?
Yeah.
Okay. So we know they're safe.
Oh, you're talking about the tournament?
Yeah, the volleyball tournament.
Okay. So
Second by Moore.
second by Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Second, review of and approval of the list of policies, June 2021. Does anybody have any questions on any of the policies?
Just one quick question on the school resource officers. Is this a totally new policy for them?
It is a new policy. Unfortunately for us, we don't have any school resource officers.
Okay,
This is different than a
okay,
CSO.
CSO,
Yeah,
okay.
this is more, back,
Like when we had,
when we had Kiwi
yeah.
and,
right,
that's, resource officer.
Yeah.
He is basically assigned to our school and he has other duties to do. He can't, but would be his primary obligation.
right, I remember.
Yes, we don't have one of those.
Okay.
I would love to have one of those. but currently we
I
don't
would
have-
have to agree with you, especially after Friday night.
So your motion,
I'll make a motion.
motion by Moore,
Second.
seconded by Pepper. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
CDPH, safety measure for K-12 school universal masking. This is just informational. All board members got a copy of the state mandates.
Yes.
We have to have, it was a request that somebody wanted to have, so we could see what the state actually requires. Does anybody have any questions on the requirements?
I don't think you can really question it, it's coming down.
Well, it's the mandates that the
Yeah,
state requires.
It's coming here down from the state, there's,
You could question it.
well, we could question it, but
Yeah.
it's not gonna make any difference. Okay. I move we accept.
Well, it's just information.
Second.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Well, it's got a motion on it.
I know, but it was just
Okay,
that was just information. There's no action to be taken.
okay.
We already did redesign Tropico. Approve the following list of personnel items. Does anybody have any question on personnel or the stipends that are on personnel?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Bender, seconded by Mr. Gillette. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We reserve the right to adjourn to our new board member.
Yep.
She made the motion, seconded. Seconded by Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we need her. Okay, we are done.
I did not. I have my keys today.